Nothing.
That's it?
Oh, here we go. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, the past few days, or even weeks, have been a bit of a sports fest in the UK. People have been watching football, they've been watching Formula One, Wimbledon has been on, and we have celebrated a victory in the men's singles by a Brit, Andy Murray. Although that may be the last time, because if he ever wins again, maybe he'll be playing for Scotland when the United Kingdom has broken up into its constituent parts. Not that I'm bitter or anything. But some people have also been watching the Tour de France. And I get daily reports from my husband about who's doing well, who's doing badly. I tune out completely because I couldn't care less about who is wearing the yellow jersey. But today I am going to talk about cycling, even though I have no interest in the Tour de France. Like all sports, cycling has become increasingly professional, and the athletes are always trying to get an edge. You can understand why if you look at the Tour de France, where they've already covered 3,000 kilometres, but the gap between the person in the yellow jersey in first place and the next person is 16 seconds. So you can see that with such a tiny margin over several weeks of competition, every millisecond that you can gain over your rivals is going to count. How can you gain a few milliseconds? Well, one way is to improve the way that you train. One way is to improve nutrition. These are the things I'm not going to talk about today. And then you can improve the technology, because obviously there's an object involved, which is a bicycle, so you can improve the technology related to the bike. Or you can go for the doping option. Now, there have been many technological advances in cycling. Tour de France cyclists record a phenomenal amount of data, which the teams actually make public now. Their speed, their average speed, their weight, their, I don't know what, how many breaths a minute they take. I mean, phenomenal amounts of data, which allows them to analyze performance. And of course, the bicycles have improved immeasurably over the years. The frames have been made much lighter. I imagine that the helmets are increasingly aerodynamic. The technological advances are even down to the kind of shorts that the athletes wear. And I don't know if you saw that just ahead of the 2012 Olympics, the British cycling team unveiled a new pair of shorts that they were going to be wearing between the warm-up and the beginning of the race to keep their muscles warm. So these are heated shorts. As you can imagine, they were immediately dubbed hot pants. I don't know how effective they were. And my husband tells me that even the coaches in which the cyclists sit between stages to take them to wherever they're going to spend the night have ergonomically designed seats for the best possible muscular recovery. So there is a lot of technology that goes into improving cycling performance, and also there's a lot of doping that goes into improving cycling performance. And in the past 25 years, we've seen the rise of the use of hormones, especially testosterone, human growth hormone, and also EPO, which is a drug that increases red blood cell production. Originally, this was a drug for anemia sufferers, but like so many drugs, it's been sort of diverted to another purpose. And the point of these substances is that they are often indistinguishable from what the body itself can produce. So the body has a certain level of them anyway, and the medics have had to try and set a sort of maximum acceptable level in the blood. Doping like technology, has become increasingly sophisticated, and it's basically about keeping ahead of the game, keeping ahead of the medics and the drugs agencies who are trying to track you down. But now, and this is really what my speech is about, a way has been found to combine both technology and doping, and they are calling it mechanical doping. The idea is to rig your bicycle to introduce a very small electric motor concealed inside the frame of the bicycle. Because after all, a grueling bike race is significantly less grueling if your bicycle is actually a motorbike. So these are very tiny little motors. They produce 25 watts, and they require a high pedaling rate. But at this kind of level of cycling, the athletes are doing that anyway. They cost between 10 and 25,000 euros. And in April, we saw the first case of an athlete being banned after having been caught red-handed by the UCI, the International Cycling Union. It was a female rider, actually, in a cyclocross race, and she has been banned for 6 years for having a concealed motor in the frame of her bicycle. Now, they caught her with magnetic resonance testing. So you use a tablet computer. The tablet computer creates a magnetic field, and it can pick up any disruptions in this magnetic field that are caused either by a motor or by a battery. But there is also a second method of identifying athletes who are using hidden motors in their bicycles, and that is thermal imaging cameras. These can detect the heat that is produced by a small motor or a battery, even when it's switched off. But the disadvantage is that the athlete has to be in motion. So you have to have perhaps a motorbike riding alongside the peloton to be able to catch them at it. According to the UCI, they have the capacity to carry out up to 4,000 tests in this year's Tour de France. So they're saying there's going to be nowhere to hide for cyclists who are attempting foul play. But despite all this, I still will not be following the Tour de France. And I'll tell you why. Despite the astonishing achievements of the athletes, and they are astonishing, these are people who have 5% body fat, who have to consume 7,000 calories a day to replace what they're burning, who cover 3,000 kilometers in 2 weeks. They are some of the best athletes in the world, but their sport, to my mind, is irreparably tainted by the doping record. And I'll give you one final statistic to illustrate that. Between 1995 and 2005, 20 out of the 21 podium finishers have been implicated in doping. 20 out of 21. So, as far as I'm concerned, there is simply no fair play in cycling at all. It is just a sport of drugs cheats. Thank you.